And now, another presentation from Racman Christian Radio. Thank you for listening. God bless you. Hello, this is Jesse the Racman, and I am on the phone with Keith Elgin. Hello, Keith.
How you doing?
I am doing great, sir. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to you.
Yeah, it's always exciting to talk to new people, and the way we met was kind of interesting because we have a common friend whose show plays on Racman Christian Radio on Wednesday nights, and I was, tweeting something out, and you went, "Hey, that's my buddy," and I went, "You're kidding? You know this person?"
Yeah, she was singing with a band out of Baltimore, or New Jersey, actually, out of New Jersey, where her show is located, and we were doing a show with them, and got to know them a little bit, got to know her a little bit, and, as indie musicians, you're kind of have a lot in common, trying to pursue ministry and write songs and sing and find opportunities to minister to people and hang out with new people, and so we had a common interest and kind of hit it off, and, when I saw you tweet about her, I thought, hey, this is pretty cool, and I know you've played a couple of the songs before on your shows, and so pretty cool.
It is really cool, and of course we're talking about Des Childs, and her manager Cody contacted us within this last year and asked if we wanted to add her show to our lineup, which I just found as a privilege, and I didn't know much about Des before that, but man, listening to her on the show, some of her live commentaries and interviews and stuff like that, it's nice to know that she's a common friend with us. But, I think the common ground is both of you are worship leaders. Yeah,
for sure. I'm a worship leader at a church plant called Vine Church. It's right in Dunmore, Virginia, just outside D.C. And, it's pretty fun just getting to know new people in the community. That's the big thing with the church plant is you're just trying to reach the people that are nearby and able to do a lot of fun outreach things and been able to grow the worship team and train new worship leaders, and it's just been awesome. And through that, just make connections with other church plants and been able to lead and pour into other worship leaders. And it's just a great opportunity. And that's really where I got my start doing Christian music as an artist, quote unquote, was leading worship and writing worship songs that fulfilled what our church was trying to do. So
exactly. And some people have likened internet radio and Racman Christian Radio in particular to being on the cusp of ministry. It's not that we're in competition with terrestrial radio or anything, but we seem to have a connection more with where artists are. And where I'm going with this is churches that I've been going to or that I've gone to in the past 20 years with my wife, the ones that are actually thriving are the ones that are doing what you're doing, whether they're plant churches or not.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah. I mean, we have a blast. And the thing with us is our goal, we have goals as a church. And most churches that have been around for a while, they have certain attendance goals and certain program goals and different things like that. And what we're trying to do is say, that's not for us, not that that's a bad thing, but what we're trying to do is say, we're about building relationships and helping people get connected to Jesus through relationships with others. And so our main goals are just meeting new people, getting them into small groups, getting them into discipleship-type relationships. And, it plays out in different ways. Hopefully that's the goal of all churches, but it plays out differently everywhere. And here, we show movies out. We're in the main road here, and so we do events out in the yard. We have like a little amphitheater type area, and we show movies all summer. And right now we're doing a pumpkin fest type thing for the fall where we have a moon bounce. It's all free. People can come and do it. And it's just the purpose is simply to meet people and get to know them. And and our vision is to plant 10 churches in 20 years, and this is the first one. And so in the next year or two, we're going to be, Lord willing, planning a second site where we have, and the goal is not to build, a big church. That's not the idea. And we actually like the feel of this church where we have a couple hundred people, and that's really where we feel like the max is, where you can know the people around you. And so once we got to that point, we've now felt like, okay, we've got to this point where people are growing, and what's next for the church? Okay, let's do another site. And that's kind of the sign for us, as opposed to, okay, we're bursting at the seams here, let's add an addition onto the building. Instead of that, we're going to go to another neighborhood and plant a community and just try to impact things that way. So it's a lot of fun, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, let's go back in time just a little bit, because we hit the road running with our sneakers on, and we're just excited about the ministry and the music. But tell us who Keith Elgin is.
Oh, who am I? Well, I think it's changing every day. You know, I feel like God's really opening my eyes to new things and giving me new opportunities. And so, number one, you know, just being a child of God and seeking after God first, that's the most important thing to me. And I have a wife, Emily, and we've been married about 6 years, and we've had kind of quite an interesting journey, too, where she got diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis, right after we got married. And so, you know, within a couple of years, she couldn't walk. She was in a wheelchair. She was only on her 21st birthday when she got diagnosed. So she was pretty young, and it was pretty aggressive. But through this past year, we actually were in Chicago for 3 months, and she was in this clinical trial and got a stem cell transplant. And so she can completely walk. She's not on any treatment, and they can't call it a cure for MS just yet because it hasn't been around long enough. But all signs are pointing to her having no more disease activity, which is awesome. So that's just a sidebar. So Emily is my wife. So we have God and husband. That kind of describes me. And then a worshiper. You know, I'm a leader in the church, and I help set the vision, and I help train other worship leaders, and I lead people in worship. And that looks all sorts of different ways. And, you know, with my band, we talk about this idea that music is just a resource. Music is just the means to an end, and the end being impacting people for Jesus. And so as much as I say I'm a musician, I'm an artist, that's just a piece of what I'm about and what my band is about and what the church is about, you know. So I guess if I had to sum myself up, I would just say I'm a worshiper of Jesus, and I try to let that overflow to all areas of my life.
That's an amazing testimony, and to your wife, our prayers and praise. I mean, that's an amazing testimony, and I pray that continues. I am part of that group of having a wife that has an immune issue with her body, where much like MS, it attacks her organs and connecting tissues, and just watching that horrible disease just attack the person that you love so much, it's got to be so hard. So for this procedure, this test of medical miracles, if you will.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
Fighting for you and fill you full of hope.
Oh, for sure. Thank you. And I mean, you know, just like anything else in life, everybody has their stuff, whether they're dealing with a disease or whether they're dealing with a job loss or child in trouble or you know, and that goes across everybody. And that's whether you know Christ or you don't know Christ. It's just how the world is. And through this process that we've had, you know, yes, it was a miracle and it's a great story for us, and you know, it brings us so much confidence in God saying, you know, being who He says He is. But more than that, it's given us a platform to share with other people that says, hey, you might be losing your hair to chemo, okay, or you might be getting your body pumped full of all these medicines, or whatever it might be. But none of that can overtake us because Jesus has already claimed us, Jesus is already for us, and we have hope in Him. And, you know, we've had conversations with friends that we've had for years that, you know, we've never been able to have before, just simply through this platform of the disease. And just being able to share that testimony of who God is in the midst of trials can sometimes, I believe, speaks more volumes to who God is than it does when you talk about all the good things that are going on. You know, because it's really easy to praise God when everything's going smoothly. But if you praise God when things aren't going smoothly, man, that says something to the world.
I was last year. I was interviewing a friend from high school of all things. I just like having fun with interviews, and it's not always about music. And I asked her, "Have you ever listened to Racman Christian Radio thinking I'd get this great response?" And of course, she said, "No, actually, honestly, I never have, Jesse." And I went, "Ooh, awkward." But she said, "I watched your Facebook page and your Facebook timeline for you, and she said, I am amazed at all the trials and all the things that life has thrown at you, and yet I can watch as you're on the downside and things are not going so well, and then all of a sudden you're on the upside because God through his people did something miraculous in your life. She says, it is amazing to watch. So I think that's really where it's at. People want to know that we're real, that we're not, I mean, I'm not saying you don't have to be professional. Please think me. I think when you're out there in the public, I think that when you are a public presence, there should be some decorum there, you know? But
yes.
Really, we're people, and we're people that are following Jesus, and we're people that have hurts just like everyone else. And I don't think that you could put on an air and hope to reach as many people as you're going to be reaching right now.
Certainly, and definitely, and that's the balance that you try to find. You know, how do I maintain? How do I be real for people in a way that's going to be, you know, authentic, but not so much that it's going to turn them off from hearing, you know, what God's doing. It's just a balance you go back and forth with. So.
Yeah, well, looking for a balance, and maybe you can speak to this. I was spying on you. I was looking you up on YouTube, and buddy, there was this video. What is the attraction to doing a cover song? And I think you know which one I'm talking about. You guys did an awesome job on it, but the song "Roar." What's going on with that?
Yeah, you know. We lead worship at a lot of youth conferences. I got the eye of the tiger, fighter, dancing through the fire. I am a champion. You're gonna hear me. You know, from time to time, we sprinkle in these songs that are pop cover songs, you know, that kids might know, and it's. I listen to music, so I like all types of music, from classical to jazz to pop to rock, classic rock, you know, all sorts of different things. And to be able to do a song like that, you know, there's intention behind it, and it's really to break down some walls between us and kids, and it's, you know, it's kind of a memory for them, and they can sing along and have a lot of fun. So that's really the idea behind it, and we've done others too, you know, like we're not going to do a song that has terrible meaning or questionable lyrics or things like that. It's going to be songs generally that are uplifting or you know, encouraging to people. And that song really, Roar, is about, you know, be a fighter and stand firm and that kind of thing. So not too far from the message of Jesus, but just not centered on him for sure. But still a lot of fun.
Your rendition was very good. It was a very good performance, and it was probably about the third or fourth one I'd seen of artists that we've actually played on Racman Christian Radio that I hope to ask them the same thing. What were you thinking? You know?
Yeah, maybe you should do a compilation of all the artists, a Roar compilation of all the Racman bands. Come on into Racman Christian Radio.
So let's talk about your music. I was trying to, and I'll let you tell the story. You've been in music for quite a while. Was this your first album that you came out with, Our Hope Live, or have you had some compilations before that?
Yeah, I've had a couple before. So back in, you know, and let me just say this first. I grew up playing the drums, and I never played guitar. And when I was about 21, 22, about 2000, maybe in the early 2000s, around there, my brother had a guitar. He got a new one, so he had his old one sitting around. So I kind of took that and just started looking on the internet and just learning how to play some chords. And right around that same time, I started singing in church, and just singing, not playing or anything. And then I tried to do both of them together. And in 2004, the guy from the worship leader at our church at the time challenged me to write a song. And he gave me a direct title. He said, write this song called In the Meantime. And that was based on this other story that's too long to tell. But in the meantime, so I thought, okay, I can try that. I'm up for new challenges. So I wrote the song, and within another month, I wrote a few more songs, and they were worship-type songs. And somebody from our church heard them and came up to me and said, I would love to pay for you to go in the studio and record these. So I went in the studio and recorded the songs, and within a couple of months, I was singing the songs in church, and we released the CD pretty much just at church at first. And I really learned, like I mentioned before, leading worship and doing music and that kind of stuff all kind of came together at the same time. So right around the same time I was writing these songs, I was singing them in front of people, which is right around the same time when I led worship for the first time. And so that kind of went hand in hand, starting like around 2005, 2006, and every 2 to 3 years since then, I've had a new collection of songs, and they've come out with something new. And so this was the first live one we did this past year, Our Hope, and that was actually a CD and DVD. And the reason behind the live thing is really that, for the first 3 albums, they were all studio stuff, and which is great. That's a lot of fun, and it's exciting to play all the new toys and see all the buttons and all that kind of fancy stuff. But walking away from it, I felt like, man, I'm a worship leader first, and how do you capture that in the studio? It's difficult, and always being influenced by the live Hillsong albums, and then the Passion albums, and then the North Point albums, and Elevation, all that kind of stuff. I started to get this inkling, like, maybe we should do a live something. It's much more representative of what you're going to get, if you're coming to something where we're leading worship or doing a concert or whatever it might be. And so that's where the idea behind the live album came. And I did some. That album's kind of half cover, I would say, worship songs, popular worship songs, like Our God or Forever Rain, like those types of worship songs, and then some originals too that would kind of fit in that quote unquote worship genre. Not that that's really a genre, but you know what I'm saying. So it was a big undertaking doing the live CD, and then the fact that we added the DVD component to it, and all these doors opened, and it was clearly all God directed, that the way things came together, and the fact that I was able to do fundraising for it through Kickstarter and through letter writing, and through that, 100% of it was all paid for. So it's just amazing.
You don't do anything quietly, do you?
I know. I know. I just don't, and I get these ideas, and I can't resist them. I was actually talking to my wife about this the other day. Like, I don't get intimidated easily. I have this, I feel like, and I described it as fearlessness, but she described it more as just confidence in who God made me and who God is. Just knowing that I can, these grandiose visions that come in my mind are actually visions from God, that God wants to do something new in me. And so I stop and question about how to do things, but when I feel like God is laying something on my heart, I step forward in faith and just go for it. And that can get me in trouble, but at the same time, it can prevent a whole lot of talking myself out of things that I can get in the way too. So I don't know. I can't get away from it. I'll just keep doing this, I guess.
You're listening to Racman Christian Radio and the Racman's interview with Keith Elgin and his band out of Washington, D.C. Well, actually closer to Virginia. And we're going to be right back after a short station break. Don't go away. We've got more interview and 2 new songs from Keith Elgin. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening. It's time. It's here. Racman Christian Radio October fundraiser. We need your help to bring awareness to the need for monthly support and assistant partnership gifts to reach our ministry goals, to improve the quality and variety of our programming, and fund projects that we can only do with outside supporters with the financial means to assist us in continuing our mission to reach all for Christ locally and abroad. Go to RacmanChristianRadio.org and click on the October fundraiser and see what you can do to help us reach all for Christ. We are the Internet's home to eclectic blends of Christian music. Racman Christian Radio.
Hey, I'm going to talk to you about 2 songs. They're the first 2 songs off the album, Our Hope. The first one is Dance Dance.
That was a song that I wrote maybe 2 years ago, and it was on the EP, which was the release right before the live one, and we did it in studio. And then when we did it live, we kind of changed the feel of it up just a little bit, just to make it a little more live music friendly, a little more dance and jumping to it. But doing like I mentioned before, doing these youth conferences and stuff, I was struggling finding upbeat songs that really proclaimed who these teenagers, these 12 to 18-year-olds, they're where they are in life, and they're always jumping around, they're always dancing, and so this song kind of came out of that, just declaring that through the freedom that we have in Jesus, we can dance, we can sing, we can shout, and when we live out that way, the world knows Christ in us. So that's really where that idea came from.
Redeeming Son of God, the one who is and is to come, your name is higher than all names. You left your heavenly throne, that we would be a kingdom come, that your fame be wider than all fame. I want the world to know you put a new song in my soul. Now I will sing it loud for you, for you. Here we go. We'll dance, dance, dance in our freedom. Sing, sing, sing it out loud. Shout, 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 so all will know that we're living for you. Yeah, we're living for you. Saving one, you are the true and perfect Son. Your ways are higher than our ways. You gave your life for me. You broke my chains and set me free. Now I'll cry freedom all my days. I want the world to know you put a new song in my soul. Now I will sing it loud for you, for you. We'll dance, dance, dance in our freedom. Sing, sing, sing it out loud. Shout, 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 so all know that we're living for you. Yeah, we're living for you. Dance, dance, dance in our freedom. Sing, sing, sing. Those hands going. Let's get them up here. Sing, you gave your life. Declare this together. Here we go. You gave your life for me. You broke my chains and set me free. Now I'll cry freedom all my days. You sing it. We'll dance. A bit louder now, here we go, dance, dance, dance. Come on everybody, let me see you jump, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Dance, dance, dance in our freedom. Sing, sing, sing it out loud. Shout, 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 so all know that we're living for you. Yeah, we're living for you.
I'm also a compassion artist, so when I go and play different places, depending on the location and depending on what the hosts or the pastors allow or not, I get to promote Compassion International and invite people to become sponsors of children. And my wife and I, in 2011, maybe 2010, were invited to go with Compassion to Ecuador to see Compassion in motion and see how things go. And when you go and explain Compassion and you invite people to sponsor kids, you want to be able to believe what you're talking about. And, not that before we went I didn't believe it, but there's a certain level of maybe validity to the invitation when I can say I saw this firsthand, as opposed to this is this theoretical thing that I'm 99% sure this is how it goes. So my wife and I went to Ecuador with Compassion. We got to see the letters being translated. We got to go into the villages and visit with families. We got to go see the churches that are the partner churches with the neighborhood, the villages, and we got to talk to some kids and hear some amazing stories and see some kids that have come there now in college, and see the moms with new babies that otherwise wouldn't be taken care of. And we got to see that stuff, So when I came home, I had this thought, this is just so much, like this whole idea that I just experienced is so much bigger than what I experience out in Washington, D.C. area, where it's the richest county in the world, and it's the most expensive county in the world, and, all this sort of stuff. And you go to this place and your eyes are open. And, you don't even have to go to Ecuador to see brokenness. There are people in your neighborhoods, people in our neighborhoods, people in our schools, people in our jobs, people in our church sometimes in our family that need the love that Jesus has given us. And so this song, Made for More, kind of came out of that idea that everywhere we look, we see brokenness, we see pain, we see struggle, but as people who have received the love of Jesus, it's our responsibility and our joy and our blessing to be able to share that love with others, and that's really what the song came from.
Crooked smiles are all I see, empty eyes surrounding me, no better place for me to be. A wandering heart out on its own, a hungry child without a home. How will they know they're not alone? This is the moment, this is our time to speak the words of life. We were made for more than this, there's not one moment we can miss. We were made to love, we were made to love. The world will try to satisfy, but only love will give us life. We were made to love, we were made to love. Their broken hearts revealing pain through silent words that tell of shame. Not many things that I could say, but this is the moment, this is our time to speak the words of life. We were made for more than this, there's not one moment we can miss. We were made to love, we were made to love. The world will try to satisfy, but only love Christian Radio.
Now, you're a worship leader, you are a husband, you're a singer-songwriter, you've written all this music, you've expressed what you want to do is reach out on these live projects and reach the youth and reach people for Jesus. Would there be anything that you would add to the impact that you want to have on listeners as they hear this interview, as they listen to the songs, and as they follow your ministry?
You know, it's hard to just say, it's hard to just break it down to one thing. I think what I try to do is I want people to see that I'm real, you know, and like you mentioned before, people often can get caught up in putting on this facade, and being real is what people need. And, you know, I've met Christian artists that, you know, I think they're one way on stage, and I have this idea when I hear them on the radio, and then I'm around them, and I'm like, that's different than what I hear them singing, or that's different in their stage persona. And, you know, I've met other Christian artists, like Mac Powell, for example, Third Day. Awesome dude. You know, you hear him on stage, you can see his heart, and then you sit down and talk to him, and he's the same guy. And, you know, I see that sort of thing, and that's how I want to be. Whether I'm leading worship, whether I'm talking on the radio, whether I'm posting on Facebook about the Redskins, which we won't even talk about that this year, whether I've just gone to the movies, or whether I'm at the gas station filling up a tank and saying hello to the guy inside. I just want to be the same person everywhere I am, and that is grounded in my faith, knowing who Jesus is and who I am in Jesus. And I think, you know, when people can figure that, it's not easy to figure out, and I'm learning more every day. It's not like, hey, I've arrived. It's more like, wow, I realize there's so much more to this than just leading worship on Sunday mornings and writing songs, and there's a greater purpose, you know. And when you realize that greater purpose and you realize that greater vision, it makes everything you do beneath that, whether it's the music, whether it's the conversations, whether it's your marriage, whether it's what you say on Facebook, whether you say on Twitter, what you post on Instagram, all these sorts of things. Once you have that clear vision, you can support that with all of these other pieces. And you realize that music is a tool. Music is a means to an end. And again, like I said earlier, the end is Jesus. And once you know that that's your why, you know, it makes everything underneath that and below that easier to decide on, easier to pursue, easier to run after.
Amen. Well, before we go, we have you list out all the websites that they can follow you on, your Facebook pages, websites, emails, and concert information. And I understand you also do just a range of concerts. I do want to ask you questions for anything you'd like to say specifically to our listeners before we go.
I'm excited about what you're doing. I'm excited about you giving artists like me a platform. You know, Made for More is played on, you know, quote-unquote charting stations, the big deal when you're looking for industry respect. And, you know, I would prefer people to just be able to get to know me. So I appreciate this opportunity for sure. And I love to get to know people. I'm about building relationships and doing this thing together, and I couldn't do it without, you know, friends and family and new relationships and people that I love. So, you know, I'd love to get to talk to people. If anybody hears it, let me know. You can go to KeithElgin.com. You can see there's some chord charts on there and videos, and I post blogs time to time. I preach a sermon at church. That's on there. You know, there's all sorts of different things on there. I'm on Facebook, facebook.com/KeithElginBand. You can go there and see different things. I got Instagram at Keith Elgin, Twitter at Keith Elgin. There's a link on the website if you want to email me. It's about, you know, that's mainly for booking, but hey, I'll get it anyway. So, you know, if you just want to say hi, or if you're encouraged anywhere, you have any ideas for me, you know, I love to hear feedback and just get to know new people.
Fantastic. It's great talking with you.
Well, man, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Definitely great to get to talk to you and hear your heart behind it, and for having me.
You're welcome. God bless you. The proceeding was a presentation of Racman Christian Radio. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please send an email to info at racmanchristianradio.org or call us at the studio at 530-643-7222. That's 530-643-7222. Thank you for listening, and stick around for more great eclectic blends of Christian music and unique ministry content.
Racman Christian Radio.